Hello all and welcome to Astro Wheel of Fortune. Thank you for joining me here for your reading today. Happy New Year as well, and welcome to all the new subscribers. I'm really excited to see an influx in my subscribers. Really excited to have you all here, so thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. This is going to be a reading for your January predictions, or whatever is left of January. We're going to go over the general themes, but I will also be shuffling tarot on camera to get energies around career, relationships, platonic and romantic, and spiritual and self-development as well. So we've got 4 groups here: group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. You can pause the video if you like to take some time to see which group you're being pulled towards, which one is calling you more. Maybe it's multiple groups, maybe it's none of them. It's totally okay if it's none of them. Just click out of the video. It may mean that this video is not for you, or messages here are not for you. But if you are being pulled towards the one of the piles or multiple piles, I'll see you there. So pause the video now if you want a little bit longer to decide, and we're going to get into your January messages. So we're going to get started with group number 1. So these are going to be your general themes for January, group number 1. Let's get into it. Let's see what we have. So first and foremost, we have feast, slow down, and celebrate yourself. We've got Gemini, life laundromat, choose your own destiny, choices, destiny, and consequences. Makes sense. Gemini makes me think of the Lovers card, right? And then we've got the choices, which is also usually represented by the Lovers card. So that's an interesting correlation here. And we've also got victory. Okay, let me think about this first. There's some sort of choice that you have to make, and this choice seems to have to do with choosing yourself in January, because it says here, slow down and celebrate yourself. So you may have to choose yourself, or maybe you're already choosing yourself in some regard in January. There is a need to decide whether you're going to choose yourself in a certain situation, or if you're going to continue pandering to something or someone. I am getting very strong feelings of like, not necessarily indecisiveness. It feels like you have to make the choice to choose yourself, or decide to choose yourself. But it's this feeling of like, what am I losing if I'm choosing myself? Am I losing a lot? What is the sacrifice here? Even though with the victory card, it makes me feel like you are actually, in the process of choosing yourself, you are becoming victorious in something. There's a feeling of winning or gaining something, but it feels like you are not quite sure whether gaining this thing is worth losing other things, even though deep down you know that it's the right path to take, or it's the right way to go. That's the way your January feels. There's a lot of thinking. I think it's going to be a very mental month for you with the Gemini here. I think you're going to be, there could be value or merit in writing things out or journaling in the month of January, because your thoughts are going to be in abundance. There's going to be a lot of thoughts coming up, a lot of ideas coming up. And I feel like your guides are saying, just like write everything down. And almost may feel like a thought vomit, I want to say. It's like there's this thought vomit coming through in January. And every single thought that you have, it's a great idea to write it down, so that it's not just staying in your head constantly. So it's a very mentally oriented month. It's a month that stations or focuses on choices and decisions, and sacrifice versus merit, sacrifice versus victory. It's like, in order for me to have this victory, I need to make this sacrifice. In order for me to have, it's almost like there could be multiple victories and sacrifices, again, in different parts of your life. It doesn't have to be just one. So it kind of feels like maybe journaling on like, what do I need to sacrifice in order to have victory A? What do I need to sacrifice in order to have victory B? What do I need to sacrifice in order to have victory C? All of that is going to be really, really important. So let's move into more specific energy. Let's pull a card for your career, finances, your material world. How is that going to be represented in January? Temperance card. I think things are going to be quite chill, quite relaxed in your career. So maybe these choices that you have to make are not necessarily in career matters. I mean, there might be some, but I feel like career is going to be pretty chill. It doesn't feel like big ups and downs. It feels quite balanced. Maybe some of you are actually going to be having extensive breaks or time off from pursuing something, giving yourself space and time to just relax, take a time out. In terms of finances, I don't see big ups and downs either. It feels very stable. Again, the way I'm kind of saying, there's sacrifices in order for you to achieve victory, and knowing that you have to choose one thing or another, one option or another, knowing that you have to choose yourself. It doesn't feel like you are feeling really overwhelmed by it, though. It doesn't feel like you are being very stressed by it. I feel like you're in a good place mentally in a way, even though you have this like thought vomit, and that could be coming from a more peaceful place, though. It's like all these thoughts are rushing in, but you're not super attached to those thoughts. That's what it feels like. It's like you're not very attached. Even if you have a bad thought, it's just a bad thought, and it's just that, like, you're not clamping onto that thought and making it your whole month, if that makes sense. But specifically when it comes to career, things are going to be pretty stable, relaxed. You're not going to be overwhelmed, which is nice. I feel like this is a really nice feeling. It's like I don't feel overwhelmed in January. I don't feel like there's a million things for me to do. Yes, there's so many choices and there's so many thoughts that I'm having, but at the same time, it's like you have the space to have these thoughts. You have the space to make these choices. So maybe some of you really do have some time off in January. I also feel like you're going to be feeling quite peaceful about where your career is going. Like there's a feeling or a sense of comfort and relaxation around where your career or your overall path when it comes to professional life is going. You're not trying to rush anywhere. There's this feeling like maybe, I don't know if you are just this person naturally, or for some of you it might come as a surprise even. Maybe you used to be, in the past, maybe you were very anxious and what do I need to do, what decisions do I have to make, what actions do I have to take in order to push my career further and further and further. I don't see that for you in January. It's very like, when a choice presents itself, I will think about it then. When an action presents itself, I will do it then. I feel like she's very relaxed in this picture as well. Slow down and celebrate yourself. I feel like the slowing down is especially resonant here with your career. You're slowing down in your career, but not like slowing down in terms of progress. You're just slowing down yourself. You're giving yourself a moment to breathe and relax and not to take things so seriously and not to worry about things so much when it comes to career, which is a really, really nice energy. In terms of finances, I feel like you may feel like you want to slow down on certain expenditures as well. Like you may not want to spend as much money. Maybe you don't feel the need to spend as much money. It feels very kind of like, I have everything I need. I don't need to buy more things. I don't need to buy more items or clothes or anything, gadgets, whatever it is. Like it's not a high expenditure month. And maybe that's why you're not so worried about your finances, because you're like, well, I'm not planning on spending much this month, so it's okay if my finances are just staying at the same level. If I'm not gaining a raise, or if I'm not gaining more money, I'm not earning more money, that's okay. I'm happy with that. But it's very stable. It's not like you don't have money. You definitely have money, but it's like the money that you do have, there's not many things that you want to spend it on. So maybe there's an opportunity to save. Maybe there's an opportunity to put some money away for the times where you do have expenditures popping up. Just very, very chill, very relaxed in terms of career. Your job might be quieter than usual. Maybe you'll get a few opportunities to just kind of sit back in your job where you don't have to work as hard. Just opportunities to do nothing as well. That just feels that kind of way. So let's move into your relationships and see how your relationships are going to be operating. This is platonic and romantic, all types of relationships, you know, relationships between you and family, friends, partners. Okay, let's see. We've got the Queen of Cups. Again, very chill energy. So it's so funny because I see choices and a million thoughts coming in, but it feels like the thoughts are not overwhelming you. So I'm kind of feeling more so towards a lot of thoughts coming in, but there may be ideas. Maybe you're going to have a lot of ideas, but maybe you don't necessarily want to act on them yet. You're kind of like, I have a lot of ideas. I'm going to write them all down. I don't really know where I want to take these ideas, but, you know, maybe I'll know in February, or maybe I'll know in March. Maybe I'll know, you know, in September. You're just very chill. Very, very chill. When it comes to the Queen of Cups, I feel like you are going to be feeling connected to everyone in your life, especially maybe a mother figure. There might be some really important communication that you have with a mother figure. You might get to resolve something with a mother figure, or just have a really nice time with a mother figure. Or maybe if you are a mother or you are a parent, maybe you are connecting to your children. And mother-child relationship or parent-child relationships are important by the looks of it here as well, in the month of January. So very connected, very peaceful, very calm. You might even surprise yourself how calm you are. I'm even noticing, like, within this card, the eye here is closed. So there might be a lot of opportunities to just not need to... It's like you don't need to be on alert in January. You don't need to be on alert. You don't need to be worried about anything in January. You're relatively chilled out. And it's not necessarily that a lot of things are happening to put your mind at ease all of a sudden. It just feels like life all of a sudden becomes... the word pleasant is coming in. It's a pleasant month. It's relaxed. But it's not like... It's not like any big event happens to create this pleasantness. It just becomes so. If you're in a relationship, I think it's going to be a really good month for your relationship. It's going to be a really good month for peaceful dynamics within your relationship, harmonious dynamics between you and your partner. You may feel very settled in your relationship. Like, that's the way it feels like. So if you're like in a new relationship, it might be that in January you all of a sudden feel like, oh, we're quite settled, you know, I don't quite feel... Maybe it's your first hint of like, oh, we're kind of comfortable with each other. Why is this coming through? But the thing is, like, maybe someone is gonna like fart in front of the other person for the first time. I don't know why that's coming in, but it's like that kind of indication of being settled with someone and like being that level of comfortable with each other. If you're not in a relationship, I feel... One thing that I'm going to say, if you're single, I think you're going to be happy being single. I want to say you're just going to be relaxed in your singlehood. Because I'm not getting these, like, sparks, or I'm not getting, like, you know, oh my god, I met someone, you know? I'm not getting that. But if you do meet someone and there is a connection, it's very likely it's going to be a very chill one. Or it may be that you connect with someone on a very chill level, but you're not yet sure if you want to be in a relationship with them, but you really enjoy spending time with them. And it's a very relaxed approach to like dating that person or seeing that person. It's like, what is that saying? It's like, if this person was, if you were any more relaxed, you'd be dead, or something like that. That's almost the feeling that I'm getting with you for January. Just relaxed. And I feel like you need that. You need a bit of... Like, placid is also the word. Is placid the right word? But it's the word that's coming up, so I'm just gonna say it. Just really chill. like no ambition, no, and it's not a bad thing. It's like a good thing that you have no ambition or no big plans for yourself in January. It's like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to integrate in the month of January. You'll have other months to, be ambitious or, try and climb the ladder of success or try and move towards relationships. It just feels very stable and relaxed and emotionally content. You're very happy with all the relationships in your life. I feel like you feel very comfortable and confident with the people in your life in January. Like friendships are easy. Like relationships should be pretty easy in January. There's no there's not really, there's decisions to make. I wonder if the reason that you're so relaxed is because you are choosing yourself, and so maybe you are spending more time on yourself rather than on other people or worrying about other people. There is a lot of thoughts. You might be thinking a lot about people in your life, but you're not thinking about them in this kind of way. What should I do? How should I approach these? It's like, it's very kind of like, oh, this is what this person is to me in my life. Interesting. It's a good, I feel like journaling for this specific group is really, really helpful, specifically in January. And I feel like you could also journal about your relationships with various people to kind of get to know your own perception of your relationship with that person better. Not much can shake you or upset you in January by the looks of it. But you're going to be feeling quite emotional. It's just it's like you're feeling the depth of your emotions without being too shaken or too anxious about it. And even though you have this like onslaught of thoughts and onslaught of ideas, you are not too attached to them. You're able to let go. Okay, now let's look into your spiritual and self-development. Death card. It does make me feel like you're staying close by, just by yourself. Maybe you're just spending a lot of time by yourself in the month of January. Kind of feels that way. You're going through a big transformation on a spiritual level. So maybe that's why you're having this onslaught of ideas, of thoughts, there's this feeling of, you're constantly thinking, you're constantly, things are coming in constantly. It's almost like you're having these spiritual downloads constantly, but they're very calm. They're very relaxed. They're not like thoughts that are making you sit and spiral for hours. It's very kind of like, oh, this thought popped into my head. Why did this thought pop into my head? Oh, I think it popped into my head because of this reason. Let me journal about it, So there's a big transformation. Maybe that's why you need some space for yourself. Maybe that's why you need space to slow down and be with your own thoughts, because you are actually going through a really big transformation. It kind of feels like a lot is happening and nothing is happening at the same time. So on the physical plane, it's very likely that there will be very little happening in January. There will be very little events. But on the spiritual plane, and when you're looking at your own self-development, January could be quite transformative, and you could be coming out of January feeling like a brand new person, like a very different person. And with the victory card, it makes me feel like you're going to be happy that you slowed down and that you chose yourself and that you made the decision to take responsibility for certain thoughts, or that you decided to journal about certain things, that maybe you decided to process certain relationships in your life. I do feel if you haven't slowed down yet, now that I'm doing this reading, first week of January, I feel, and you've been considering slowing down, I feel like it's a good choice to make for yourself. Being as slow and deliberate as possible in January is really helpful to your self-development, your transformation, your inner upgrade of some kind. You could catch up on sleep in January as well. That's something that I'm seeing. It's like catching up on sleep could be really important. It's kind of like you're recharging yourself, but you're also, there is a lot of thought output. And Gemini is, you know, it's Mercury energy and it always makes me think of writing. I'm kind of getting a lot of communication, but it feels like communication with yourself. Very clear communication with yourself, maybe clear communication with your guides. But it's not going to be a heavy month, even though we've got the Death card here. It could feel very transformative, but it doesn't feel like it's very heavy. It doesn't feel like it's dragging you. It feels very relaxed, but at the same time, this transformation is happening in the background. It kind of feels like effortless transformation, if I'm honest. So maybe you've gone through the more heavy type of transformation. Maybe you've gone through a more heavy kind of approach and shadow work. And this is more so like you're tying loose ends. Maybe there are a few loose ends that need to be tied up in terms of your thought process, your frame of mind, your thinking patterns. It just feels like you're at the end of a transformational period. So maybe you have been going through this transformational period for a while and you're just kind of tying loose ends. Maybe there are certain sacrifices that you have already made. We were talking about sacrifice earlier. So maybe you've already made certain sacrifices and now you need to process the fact that you've made these sacrifices. That could be what's going on with you here as well. But it's really important to slow down in January. I feel like you know that anyway. I don't think I need to tell you this. But I really think you're in for a pretty chill month. And anything that does happen is you're going to be transmuting that pretty easily. Like there's this, it's like you're filtering things through yourself, but you're not getting too emotionally attached to thoughts, to even ideas. You're writing them down. That's what I'm getting, like maybe writing stuff down, but you're not necessarily going like, this is the one brilliant idea that's going to get me where I need to go, or that's the one thought or negative thought that I'm going to attach myself to and be upset about now for the rest of the week or the month. It's very much like, oh, I had that thought, I had that idea, okay, interesting, why did I have it? And I think you're coming out of January feeling refreshed and renewed in some sort of way. In most ways, I think like this feels like, it doesn't feel like it's just attached to relationships or, career. It feels like it's an overall energy. But I feel like focusing on yourself is the best thing in January. Focusing on how you can slow yourself down. There could even be something to do with slowing down in terms of your eating habits, because she's eating here and I can't stop looking at it. So it kind of feels like maybe some of you are slowing down to figure out, maybe you want to change what you eat, you want to change your diet, maybe you want to learn new recipes, maybe you're sick of the same food that you always eat and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I kind of feel like I'm always on autopilot eating these foods. How can I change things around so I'm eating I have a new palate or something like that, of develop a new taste palette or whatever it is. That's what it feels like. So I'm gonna leave it here for group 1. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you liked it, do like, subscribe, and of course comment if you feel like sharing feedback or just saying hello. But I'm gonna leave this here and we're gonna move on to the next group. So we're moving on to the next group, group number 2. So group number 2, your January, let's get into it. This is going to be your overall energy and then we'll specify more with tarot, but let's get started with this first. So we have confidence, Scorpio, Neon City, the lights are blinding, disillusionment, deception, secrets. Oh, interesting with Scorpio. Protection. One thing that I'm getting is that you may want to keep something a secret in January. You may feel like you don't want to talk too much about certain projects or certain plans that you have, certain ideas, Because it does feel like a secret is not being kept from you. It feels like you're keeping the secret. You're being protective over something. You are wanting to keep something a bit of a secret. Scorpio energy indicates some sort of level of secrecy here as well, and says confidence, it comes with time and practice. So maybe you are trying to give something time and give something practice before you bring it into the world or before you share it with anyone. That's how it feels. You're not quite ready to share some part of yourself. This could be a personal project, career project. This could be something, you know, a relationship even. For some of you, it could be anything. It could be any sort of idea that you have. You're just not interested in sharing it yet. You're like, you know what? I'm going to keep this to myself. You are in a bit more of a secretive energy. You may not want to give too much away from yourself if you meet new people as well in this is not February, this is January. In January, but maybe February as well then. But in January, for some reason, you might feel like you just want to keep things to yourself a bit more. Maybe you are trying to work on oversharing. That could be something as well. Maybe that's something that maybe one of your resolutions is to work on your oversharing tendencies. But you're just you're protective, and you're not concerned with over-explaining yourself. You're not concerned with people knowing, you know, where you're coming from or what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to work on something, you're doing it in a very concealed, kind of protective kind of way. Especially if you're like a creative or something. If you're doing something creative, you could be working on something like an art project, or maybe you're creating music or whatever it is that you're creating. You're just like, this is for me. I'm just doing it for myself, and at some stage I will let it out into the world, but right now I just don't want to share it with anybody. Or someone who, like, very trusted people only. So let's look at your career, your professional life, your finances, your material world. What is that represented by? Knight of Cups in reverse. You may feel a little bit tired. That's the first thing that came through. In January, you may feel a little bit tired. You may feel a little bit uninspired. Especially if you are a creative that works in a job that is not creative. Maybe if you are working on a project, that's all you're going to want to think about rather than like your job. Again, I keep thinking about the secrecy part. So for a lot of you, I feel like this is a career-related secrecy that you are indulging in. I wouldn't even say indulging in, but I can't find the right word. Participating in. It's all very whispery. It's all very like, shh, don't tell anyone, you know? So, and it's not because of shame or anything. It's not because of worry or anything. It's not like you're being protective or secretive over whatever it is that you're doing here, any sort of projects that you're doing or any plans that you have for your career. It's not because of that. It's just because you want to keep it between you and yourself. You know, you want to keep it to yourself because it makes you feel more protected. It makes you feel like your aspiration or the goal that you're setting when it comes to your career is protected in some sort of way. Knight of Cups in reverse also can talk about maybe a lack of good opportunities or a lack of opportunities that feel emotionally fulfilling. So it could even be that maybe you're interested in moving jobs, and obviously you would probably keep that a secret from certain people or from most people. But in January, maybe it doesn't feel like there's a lot of opportunities that appeal to you emotionally, or opportunities that do come up don't seem to be relevant to what you would like to be doing. But I feel like your guys are just saying that's okay. That's okay. It's okay if you don't feel like things resonate with you. things are always about timing. So if it doesn't come in January, maybe there's a reason that I said February by an accident. So maybe there is opportunities coming in February. You may just feel emotionally uninspired by your work or your job in January, but it's not in a bad kind of way. It's just from a point of view that, again, I feel like there might be a little bit of tiredness. Maybe you're feeling a little bit run down. Maybe you don't have a lot of confidence in what you do, but it's not forever, because Knight of Cups, like, it's not a very fatalistic type of energy. It's very fleeting, I guess, or it can be very fleeting. To me, it reads as very fleeting. So the way that you're feeling in January about your career, it's not forever. Maybe your guides want you to lean into that feeling, the feeling of being uninspired. Why are you feeling uninspired? Why are you not feeling connected to the opportunities that are around? Processing that, understanding that. I think in terms of finance, be careful around things. One thing that I'm getting is be careful around scams, and be careful around spending money emotionally. That's one thing that I'm getting here. In January, avoid any expenditures that seem to be coming through, like, oh, I'm feeling uninspired, or I'm feeling unfulfilled, so I want to fulfill myself with like a purchase. That's what I'm getting for January for you, for career and professional life. But it's not forever. This energy is not forever. It's just, it's there for a reason. You're meant to lean into it and understand this feeling for yourself, why you're feeling this way. This feeling is here for a reason. That's what I keep getting. So maybe for a lot of you, the feeling of unfulfillment is because maybe your guides are trying to push you into a new direction or into a new opportunity, or maybe it's them trying to push you into figuring out how you can find fulfillment again. So let's move into your relationships. This is platonic, romantic, family relationships, all relationships. We've got 9 of Swords in reverse, and I actually really like that energy. You're getting over certain anxiety around your relationships. If you are feeling anxious about someone in your life right now, a friend, a partner, your anxiety will be put to rest in some sort of way in January. So maybe, you know, you were feeling very anxious about your relationship with a friend, and you thought that maybe there was something wrong, or that, you know, they didn't like you or something, and maybe you end up having a conversation with them that clears it up, and you realize, oh no, like they just had their own shit going on. It kind of feels like that. A lot of your anxiety, for those of you with relationship anxiety, this is a really great card when it's in reverse, I feel. So if you have some relationship anxiety currently, I feel like that is going to be alleviated for you in the month of January, or by the end of January. Or it's kind of, I keep getting, what if they hate me? What if they hate me? What if they hate me? So if you feel like someone hates you, or someone is majorly against you, something about it is being put to bed. Like, you are being alleviated from that, from those anxious thoughts, from that anxiety. It's someone you might even lose your sleep over, you know? It could be someone that you know, you stay in bed and you think about how they think or feel about you. Or you worry that they've beef with you when they don't. Again, you might think that they do, but I feel like they're going to be putting your mind to rest, or a situation that happens between you and a person is going to be put to rest when it comes to your relationships, friendship. Maybe it's a family member. It's kind of realizing that your anxieties were just that, you know, that they weren't reality, they were just the anxiety. You might have some interesting dreams as well. That's something that I'm getting, about people in your life, especially maybe even this person, or maybe this is multiple people for some of you. But it just feels like maybe you were worried that someone was angry with you or mad at you or didn't like you, and January is going to prove that wrong. Prove that to be wrong to you. And you will be able to kind of like put that to bed almost. So it's a nice energy. Confidence, it comes with time. Maybe confidence with a person is coming in, like with a certain person, or maybe like a potential partner or a friend. Maybe you've lost some confidence around your relationship with them and it's being revived. But it feels like almost like a sigh of relief is what I'm getting around a certain relationship in your life in January. So let's move on to your personal and self-development, your spiritual development. What is coming up? We've got the Death card again. It's very interesting because this came out for group 1 as well. So maybe if you were attracted to group 1, maybe you want to watch that as well. Again, if you weren't attracted to that, that's absolutely fine. But I find that very funny that we've got the Death card coming out for the first 2 groups for the spiritual development specifically. So you'll be going through a big transformation. Again, makes sense with the Scorpio being here because Scorpio rules the Death card. I think some of your delusions will be transformed. Like maybe you have some delusional anxiety or some delusional thinking about certain things, specifically relationships or certain relationships in your life, and you will be shown the actual reality of the situation or the actual reality of the relationship rather than what you thought was going on. One thing, you are in a very secretive energy in January, and I feel like the one place where your guides don't want you to be secretive is with your feelings. So if you have some sort of anxiety about a relationship or around your personal connection with someone, it's really important that you speak up on it. You can be, I feel like your guides are saying you can be secretive with projects or with work. You can be secretive with, what your goals are or what your aspirations are. But be careful not to be secretive with your own emotions, your own emotional state, because it feels like this secretive energy is overall and it can touch on different parts of your life. And where your guides don't want you to be secretive is around relationships or around your connections and how you feel about people or how you think people feel about you. It can really help you to speak up on those things. I also feel like you're just very protective in January. And I keep wanting to say February for you. I don't know why. So maybe your January and February are really connected. But I feel like you're really, really, really protected in January. Whatever you decide to do, I don't see you making many actions. Like, I don't think you're going to be acting out on anything much. Maybe you're acting out on these secret projects that you have. But I don't see you making any big decisions or any big choices in January. But you're protected in whatever decisions or choices you do decide to make. Be careful not to lie to yourself about people not liking you as well. There's something, maybe there is a little bit of this paranoid energy where you worry that people are not good, like don't like you in January for some reason, or certain people don't like you. There might be an element of you convincing yourself of that, even though it's not the objective truth and it's not the reality. It might be quite an emotional month for you, January. But it kind of feels like there might be moments where you feel really upset, but by the end of January, you're going to see it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be. You're really protected. You have to remember that. In January, you're protected. You're protected in speaking out as well. So if you want to speak out on something, you want to speak out on something that hurt you or something that made you anxious or made you upset, it's really important that you do. And allow yourself to express yourself authentically rather than trying to be secretive about how you feel and only trying to show certain elements of how you feel. There's this feeling of like maybe thinking that if you were to bring something up to someone, that your reaction to something is like not socially acceptable. For some reason, that's coming through. So maybe you need to give yourself permission to react to things the way that your body wants to, rather than thinking, oh, will it be socially acceptable? And not like, because I don't think you're going to want to do anything like crazy or anything like that, but it just feels like you might think that people might judge you for reacting a certain way or for expressing something, because I don't think you're going to, I'm not getting feelings of you doing something crazy. It just feels like maybe you want to emotionally express something to someone, but you worry that you would be judged for your expression. So your guides are just saying, be careful that you don't neglect yourself in the process of trying to be socially acceptable or trying to make sure that other people don't get upset by your reaction. But yeah, January feels like you're going to be challenged to build your confidence. You're going to be challenged to speak up on emotional matters that upset you, because really, if you speak up on emotional matters that upset you, they're going to get fixed and your anxiety will be alleviated. And you're being encouraged not to spend emotionally, or not to, don't make any, one thing that I'm getting, don't make any career choices or decisions from this emotional place. Don't take any action career-wise or job-wise. Maybe it's like, if you want to leave a certain job, that's fine, but there's this feeling of like, don't do it in the heat of the moment or anything like that. Think about things, kind of allow things to simmer down. But again, it's a very transformational month, very similar to group 1 in that kind of way, but also these groups have been quite different. And just remember that it's okay to keep certain things secret if it comes to a project, if it comes to something that you want to do in terms of a career goal. You're allowed to keep things a secret. You don't have to tell people about it if you don't feel like you're ready yet. That's also okay. So that's what I have for you for January group number 2. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you liked it, do like, subscribe, and comment, especially with your feedback if you feel like sharing. But I'm going to move on. So we're moving on to group number 3. So group number 3, let's see, how is your January going to go? We're going to look at your general themes first, and then we'll get into your tarot. So we've got Castle, it's time for healing, not for war. We've got the 9th house. I'm already noticing the number 3 is really important. We've got 30 and 33. So 333 might show up a lot for you in January. You might be a life path 3 or life path 33. We've got Pisces, I believe. We've got Peachy Paradise, enjoy the view in front of you, happiness, contentment, and gratitude. And we've got Productivity with Pumpkin. There's a need to focus on the productive rather than the destructive. That's kind of the first thing that I'm getting here. And I think there's going to be a lot of really good things in January for you. I think there's going to be a lot of expansion for you in January. Expansion with projects, especially expansion with your way of thinking. Your overall worldview is really going to expand. on a spiritual level as well. A lot of you, if you are interested in, divination, or if you read tarot, your abilities could be expanding as well. There is a really boundless kind of energy that I'm getting with group 3. It's very different from the first two groups. There's a lot of advancement. The thing is, I feel like your January is going to be a really good month. That you have to be very present and very involved with this positive energy that's coming in, and avoid conflict. Not in a way like avoiding conflict and like, brushing it under the rug, but you have to direct your attention to the really positive things that are happening in your life in the month of January. You have to be careful not to get hung up on things that are like, it might be that there are people that are trying to trigger you. One thing that I'm getting is that potentially maybe you are doing really, really well in January and something is really working out for you, and someone might be triggered by your success. And they may want to trigger you back because they're uncomfortable by your success. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be someone specifically in your circle. This could be as random as like, a bad comment or something like that, or someone maybe potentially even completely irrelevant. I feel like it could be someone who's not very relevant to your life. And it could be, like an email in work or something like that that really gets you riled up, and your guides are saying, like let it float. Let it float away, because you've got all this good stuff coming in January. You don't need this one thing to drag you down, because it's in the grander scale of things, it's completely irrelevant. Like, I keep looking at the word paradise, and there's a lot of P's here. I've noticed we've got Pisces, Peachy, Paradise, Productivity, PPP. So like 4 P's. P might be an important letter in January for some of you. Maybe your name begins with P. But it feels like a really good month, very productive month. You're going to get a lot done. Emotionally as well, it feels like it's not just productive in terms of like projects and career, but it feels like it's productive in terms of you processing your emotions. It could be very productive for those of you that are studying, that are in college. In general, there's a sense of progress. Like, you're getting a lot done and a lot is happening for you. And you're going to be very happy about it. There's this feeling of, I'm really content with how things are going. But it's very important that you lean into that feeling, that you're grateful that that's the way things are going for you, that you do your gratitude, you sit with it, you sit with the feeling of gratitude, because I think this is a great month for you to lean into that. Your gratitude is going to be very obvious. Your gratitude is going to be very natural. Like, it's going to be flowing very naturally, more so than other months maybe. And your guides are kind of saying, make sure you lean into that. It's time for healing, not war. So it kind of makes me feel like it's time to heal and connect to that feeling of gratitude, because it's coming up so naturally for you. Don't focus on fighting someone or getting upset by someone's attempt to trigger you. Or don't get involved in someone being triggered by you. Because I feel like your happiness might irk someone. That's what it feels like. It's like your happiness, your contentment within your life, your enjoyment of your own life will irk someone. And it kind of feels like, it doesn't feel like it's someone close to you. It feels like just someone, like a peripheral person, moving through. It's like someone who's not in your inner circle, someone who's not in your close proximity, but it has the power to make you upset, but it doesn't have the power because it's like you will decide whether you're going to give that power or you're not going to give that power. That's what I'm getting here. So let's get into the tarot. Let's see. So we're looking into career and professional life, you know, your job, your career, your finances, your material world. How's that being represented? Okay, so we've got the 8 of Pentacles. Very fitting for work. Yeah, again, very productive month. If you are looking to be productive, January is definitely the month to, even like, especially what I'm getting here, if there have been things that you've put off for a while, January is a good month to tackle these things that you've put off, because there's something about you that is very good at problem solving and is very good at moving through difficult tasks. It's like you can take on difficult tasks better than you have been able to in months prior to this. For some reason, I'm also getting, for a lot of you, this could span until Pisces season. So it could be that, you know, January to Pisces season is a really good productive time for you. So there is something that you've put off for a while and maybe you didn't have energy to do. Maybe you didn't have a lot of time to do it, a lot of space to do it. January is a good time to tackle those things. But work is going to be good. I think if you're trying to create things like content, or you're trying to create, you know, pieces of art, you're trying to write music, it's a good month to get into that mechanical way of creating. You know, when you start creating without even thinking, you're just like making things. Or you're just, you know, if you're in work, this is a great time to, like, you know, get through all those emails that you've been trying to get through. It's this feeling of just like, I'm working. I'm also I'm almost in this meditative state while I'm doing. Work could be very spiritual for you in January, where you're just doing things and there's just this enjoyment of being productive. Productivity can be very spiritual for you in this month. In terms of finances, I think your finances are going to be very stable. I think your financial situation is going to be more so on the earning side rather than spending side. It feels like maybe, again, it's very funny to me because it feels like all of the groups so far, there's been either an indication of like not much spending or like a request from the guides to not spend too much. But I feel like with you, it's more so like you don't even feel the need to spend. And it's more like you're earning. But it's a very stable type of earning. It's not like ups and downs or anything like that. And it's more so about productivity. For some reason, content seems to be coming up. So if you create content, or if you create pieces of art, or if you create music or anything like that, it's like you might have a lot at the end of the month where you've created a lot of content or a lot of work to show for the month. Or like if you're in a job where there's a quota of something, you know, it's like you have to make so much stuff or you have to create so many reports in 1 month, you might be actually over it. So it's kind of like you might actually be able to produce so much that you already are starting on the quota for February or for March. Like that's kind of what it feels like. It's like I have so much energy to create and I'm enjoying the process of creating and being productive that I'm further along and I'm already knocking things off from the next month and the next. That's the way that it feels in terms of career and work and professional life. You're going to enjoy practicing things as well. So maybe there's something that you're trying to practice or something that you're trying to learn. It's a great month for learning for sure with the 9th house here. So if you're trying to practice or learn something, January is definitely the month to do it. If there's something like a new hobby that you want to pick up and you really want to practice it and master it to a certain level, that's going to be a great month to do that. Yeah, like in terms of career and work, you're in a really good place, and I feel like you're feeling really satisfied with how things are going. So let's move forward into your relationship, or relationships, I should say. So this is platonic, romantic, family relationships, all of them. So relationships for group 3. Four of Pentacles in reverse. This makes me think that you are letting go of expectations in terms of relationships. You're letting go of what you expect from certain people in your life. You are just completely letting go of your preconceived notions about people. So maybe it kind of feels like you are maybe admitting to yourself that you've put certain people in a box for yourself, or you've put certain people into certain roles in your life, and which is fine, we all do it, but you are reconstructing that for yourself in the month of January. You're seeing people from a new perspective. If you're in a relationship, you may see your partner through a new lens. If you are single, what I'm getting is that you are releasing certain expectations that you had for a relationship for yourself, full stop. So maybe you're seeing that you want your relationship to be different than what you thought you wanted it to be. You might date outside of your type. You might date outside of your norm, what is like usual for you when it comes to relationships. Or you may just operate like, for example, if you're someone who's like dates a lot, you may decide to not date at all for the month of January. And if you're someone who doesn't date at all and you've been kind of keeping to yourself, you may decide to date all of a sudden. There's this feeling of just like breaking out of what's conventional or usual for you when it comes to relationships. You may switch things up with your friends. Like you may decide to interact in a different way with your friends. You may set new boundaries with your friends, or maybe reconfigure certain boundaries that you have within your friendships. You're just letting go of things that you feel constrict you in relationships rather than help you. Another thing that I'm getting is a lot of you could work through some jealousy issues, which is really, really nice. You might actually do some really good like shadow work around jealousy. That is, again, very productive. Very productive month for you, group 3, that's for sure. You're productive on many levels. I also feel like a lot of you might break out of a certain mold that other people have put on you. You may force a person in your life to see you from a new perspective. Maybe your partner sees you through a new lens also. Maybe a family member that constantly had a certain role for you all of a sudden sees you in a new light and sees you from a new perspective. It's all about changing perspective when it comes to your relationships, changing the way that you see certain people, but also how you see specific relationships. You might be redefining what friendship means to you. You might be redefining what romantic relationship means to you. You might be redefining what, your relationship with your mother or your father means to you, your parent. Redefining and reconstructing seems to be the key word for relationships for January for you, group number 3. So let's move into spiritual and self-development. Oh, 3 of Wands. That's really nice. It kind of feels like you are looking at how you can further progress in your spiritual development, which makes sense with the 9th house in Pisces here. It's like maybe you feel like you've completed a certain cycle. Maybe you feel like you've completed a certain lesson in January, and you're like, okay, what can I do next to elevate myself? What can I do? How can I further my progress when it comes to spiritual and self-development? What is my next step? Where do I go now? How do I better myself? And of course, like, one thing about self-development, it can become a bit of a trap, but I don't think you're doing it from a trap perspective. I don't think you're like trapped in constant self-development or constant healing, Being obsessed with healing and self-development can be bad, and it can be a little bit toxic, and it is like an ego trap, but I feel like you're taking it from a perspective that is not obsessive. I feel like you're just interested in seeing how you can become a better person, and I think that's actually really, really nice. You're interested in, maybe that's why you're breaking out of a certain Like maybe there's friends that you see in certain light, or your partner, you see your partner in a certain light, and in order to be a better person or in order to develop yourself, you are realizing that you need to change your mindset around these people and see them from a different perspective because you're putting them in a box. You're not interested in keeping people in a box for yourself. You're interested in seeing people as very multifaceted. But there's other things as well. Like I feel like with the Three of Wands, you are interested in your own potential, but it's like maybe you're really interested in dissecting your own potential, where you think your potential is. Where does my potential lie? What is my highest potential in work, in relationships, you know? Potential is, and again, it's a P word. I think it's just very interesting. A lot of P words are coming through for this group. Like, I keep getting, what is my potential? What is my highest potential? Where can I take myself? And you're not doing it on an overall level. You're not saying like, what is my overall potential? You're zoning in quite a bit. You're going, what is my potential in my hobbies? What is my potential in my career? What is my potential in my studies? What is my potential with my friends? What is my potential with this specific friend? Like you're looking at things from a very microscopic kind of view. You're kind of zoning in on things. And I also feel like this card does relate to this gratitude energy with the Peachy Paradise. Because it says here, enjoy the view in front of you. And it's like this person is literally enjoying the view. Like they're watching the ships come in. So it makes me feel like something about your spirituality is also about just not accepting, but celebrating how far you've come in terms of your potential. So admiring the view in front of you, admiring your career that's in front of you, admiring your job, your hobbies that you have, your interests that you have, admiring your friends and family that are in front of you, admiring the partner that is in front of you, admiring, your own qualities in front of you. Spiritually, you're looking towards the future, but you're also kind of like, wow, look at how far I've come. Look how many things I've achieved so far. So again, gratitude does seem to be important, but it's not like, I don't think I even have to tell you to be grateful or anything like that. Like you are just going to be basking in a lot of gratitude in January. Because I think you're going to be very proud of yourself in January. And it's not, again, it doesn't feel like it's anything specific. Maybe there will be certain specific things to do with career, maybe especially, and maybe because you're proud of yourself for, tackling jealousy issues or tackling the way that you box people into, or you used to box people into certain roles. But it's not just about that. It just, in general, you just feel very proud of yourself of how far you've come in January. Maybe you're looking back at where you were in January last year comparing to January this year. But yeah, I think January is going to be a really, really nice month. I think this Peachy Paradise card feels very resonant with how you're going to be feeling. So I'm really excited for you, Group 3. So if you like this reading, do like, subscribe, and comment, especially if you want to share some feedback. And I'm going to move on. So we're moving on to group number 4. So group number 4, how is your January going to be? What is coming up in January for you? Let's get into it. We're going to look at your general cards first, and then we'll go into it with tarot. We've got Sword, make the change. Mercury retrograde, reinvention. Well, we're actually going to be going into Mercury retrograde in January, so that's interesting. We've got pleasure point. You'll like it up here, abundance, sex, prosperity. And we've got affection. Oh, well, there is a lot of romantic energy here in January. So for a lot of you, I do feel like it'll be a romance and pleasure and affection centered month. For a lot of you, with the Mercury retrograde, I can't help but feel like maybe somebody is coming back. if that's what you want. Again, like obviously we have free will and we get to decide what happens, but it could be that someone is coming back. Make the change. I feel like maybe if someone is coming back, your relationship with this person is changing. Like it's not going to be the way that it used to be. It's not going to be the way it was before. You're reinventing the relationship that you have with this person. Another thing that this could be, it's not necessarily that someone is coming back. It could be that you are reinventing a relationship with a current partner. You're reinventing your connection with your current partner. Again, like I feel like Mercury retrograde is sometimes it's made out to be a lot more intense than it actually is, or it's made out to be a lot scarier than it actually is, and a lot of these retrogrades are. It does feel like a reinvention, reconsideration kind of energy. Specifically, it feels like a romantic connection. So for a lot of you, if that doesn't resonate, I don't know if this is the pile for you, because I feel that very strongly in this group. There's a reconsideration, modeling of your relationship with someone. That is probably romantic and sexual in nature. Some of you, something that I'm getting is that some of you could be rethinking how you engage in your sex life. That's something that's coming through as well. So maybe you are rethinking how you want to pursue your sex life, how you want to engage with your sex life. Like maybe you want to change the dynamics or how you usually do things. But it feels like a very affectionate kind of month for you. So I feel like you're going to feel a lot of romantic affection. Yeah, I feel like if that doesn't resonate, maybe pick another pile, because it does feel like this group will be experiencing a lot of romantic affection, a lot of sexual affection and love. And I want to say specifically, like, there's a lot of affection when it comes to sex. It's not just sex on its own. It feels like it's encompassed by affection and love and genuine connection. You might decide to change the way that you communicate with your romantic partner or partners or future partners. You may decide to change the way that you express yourself, and not in a way that is like not authentic to you, more so that you are reconstructing the way that you connect or communicate with romantic partners, because you're realizing that the way you have been doing it doesn't resonate with you anymore. And you want to do it in a new way. You want to do it in a better way for yourself. I'm also noticing we've got Taurus, and Taurus is a very sensual, it's a very sexual sign. Yeah, I'm getting a lot. You might, for some of you, maybe your sex life is going to be more active than it usually is as well. Some of you might decide to change up your looks. Like you might decide to change up your outward appearance. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of reconstructing, rethinking, reconsidering when it comes to sex, communication around sex and love life and relationships, and just partners. Like you and your partner might decide that there's a better way to do something within your relationship. Or if you don't have a partner, you may decide that you are interested in a different type of partner, or you want to change the way things move in your romantic life. It kind of feels like you're reconsidering the logistics of romance in your life. So let's look at your career, professional life, finances, material things in the month of January. Eight of Swords in reverse. So the Eight of Swords in reverse does talk about self-limiting beliefs being broken. So I feel like you are breaking out of certain self-limiting beliefs when it comes to money, to material things, to your career. It could be connected to Mercury retrograde, depends on where Mercury retrograde is happening in your chart. You are breaking out of thinking that you have to do things a certain way in order to earn money. So maybe you are deciding that maybe there's a better way for you to earn money. Maybe there's a better way for you to acquire financial wealth. You might be rethinking your career in general and realizing that you are wanting to take your career in a new direction. But it doesn't have to be quite so big. It can be something as little as deciding you want to change your bank for some reason is coming through. For some of you, it might decide to change banks. Change the place where your money comes into and where it comes out of. You're feeling a lot less anxious about money and about finances in general. Like, I feel like you're going to feel quite calm and relaxed about your income and where your money comes from. You're also not trying to force yourself anymore in January to do things around work and career that you don't no longer want to do. So maybe there's certain tasks that you convinced yourself that you had to do, that you had to perform in work, and you're realizing there's no need to do them. You might even realize that you want to talk to your manager or whoever the higher ups are and point out that there are pointless tasks that you as a team do or something like that. There's this feeling of like you're talking to your manager and you're like, hey, we've been doing these tasks, but did you know that this is actually a quicker way of doing this, or this is actually an easier way of completing this task? There's this feeling of like, why are we overcomplicating our life? You might be realizing that you've overcomplicated certain tasks for yourself. Like if you have a business, maybe you realize that there's an easier way of doing something. Maybe you realize that there's a better way of attracting customers or clients. And it's like you've been doing it. I keep hearing you were doing it arse ways, but it's like you were doing it in a way more complicated way, and there's actually a much more straightforward way to do something. And I think that's going to make you quite happy. It's going to make you excited. And so you're going to implement that change. With the sword, it says, make the change. Yeah, I think that's all I'm getting for you for your career. I think you're just realizing that certain things, you don't need to do them in such a complex way, and you can do things much more simply. And you're also realizing that certain tasks or certain things that you do in your career, they no longer need to be done, and they never really needed to be done. But now you're really integrating that, and you're realizing that on a bigger scale than maybe you did before. It's like, oh, I don't have to do this. It's like I've convinced myself I have to do this, but I don't actually have to do this in work. I don't have to act this way in work. I don't have to perform this task or do this thing this certain way. I can do it the way that actually resonates with me. Yeah. So that's what I'm getting for you for your career and your professional life, your material life. So let's move into your relationships. This is platonic, romantic, family relationships. Let's get into it. We've got the Hanged Man in reverse. Some relationships may feel like they've gone stale, or that makes sense. Look, there is this feeling of rethinking something to do with a relationship, realizing that something in the relationship went stale and wanting to change it. That's what it feels like with the Hanged Man being in reverse. It's like a certain part of your relationship, especially if you're in a romantic relationship, if you're with a partner right now, realizing that you're not like out of love with your partner or you're not interested in them anymore. It's more so that there's a certain way or certain pattern that you and your relationship, or you and your partner within your relationship that you do that's not working. It needs an upgrade. I feel like a lot of the things in your life are very almost mathematical in the month of January. It's like the maths is not adding up anymore. The maths is, the pattern has gone stale and I need to reconfigure this pattern. I need to change this pattern. So you're changing a lot of the patterns, whether it be in your career or whether it be in your relationships. You may realize that there are certain relationships that have gone stale that maybe you do want to cease or end, because maybe the person on the other end doesn't want to, reconfigure and change things around. But it's realizing which patterns within your relationships are outdated. That's what you're coming to terms with in January. It's like, this is a very old pattern that does not serve me anymore. I need to either change it. And of course, if I want to change this pattern, I need the consent and the engagement from the other person. But if they're not engaging, then I'm dropping them, or I'm leaving them, because it's just not something that I can actually work with. Or maybe I'm minimizing my contact with that person then. I don't know why you feel so, it's so interesting, because you feel so romantic and sensual and mathematical at the same time in January. There's a big focus on pleasure, there's a big focus on romance, on affection, on love, but there's also this big focus on very mathematical way of realizing that, kind of looking at your patterns and what different patterns represent and how different patterns operate in your life, and changing the variables within those patterns. That's all it is. It feels like you're changing variables. It's like, oh, this doesn't work in our relationship. How do we change it? How do we bring it into a more, vitality filled kind of a relationship? Oh, this doesn't work in my business or in my career. What variable do I need to change to bring it into a more exciting place? I think you are craving excitement in January. I'm not necessarily getting that it's going to be a very exciting month in general, not just for you, just from all the groups, just something I'm picking up on. But it's like you're the one group that are actually like really craving excitement, but you're realizing in order to achieve that excitement that you're craving, you're going to have to make a few changes. You're going to have to change a few variables around. But it's just, maybe you have a very mathematical brain. You might have a very mathematical approach to life in general. Maybe you don't even realize it. And I'm not saying you're good at maths. It's just you've got a mathematical approach to your life. And everything in your life is a variable. And you can change that variable to what you want it to be. And it's something that you're realizing in January. So let's look at your self-development and your spiritual development in January. Yeah, we've got judgment. That makes sense. The judgment card is about progress, elevation. It's about leveling up. You're like, if I want to level up, what variables do I need to change? What do I need to reconsider, reconfigure, reinvent? You're reinventing your whole life pattern. And I keep getting the idea of patterns. You're noticing what patterns you have in your life and how to step out of those patterns so that that excitement can come into your life. Because it's like, you're kind of realizing, if I continue by these patterns that I'm going by, whether it be in my job, in my career, in my relationship, in my interests, then nothing will change and I will not be getting more excitement. But if I change the variables, if I step out of my pattern, I will incite this excitement that I am so craving. And I feel like maybe even before January ends, you're getting a little bit of that excitement that you're looking for. But before you get that, you need to observe, you need to, and I feel like you know this, it's not something that I'm telling you, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's exactly what I need to do. I feel like maybe that's something that maybe this has been a part of your thought process already. You're not easily you're not easily distracted in January. It feels like you're quite focused. There's some sort of like razor focus on how to improve things. And so it doesn't feel like a lot of things or a lot of events can distract you. Now, one thing that I am getting, there could be people coming back from the past. Out of all the groups, I would say yours is the most connected to that. Like, I didn't see any hints of that in other groups. But I am seeing that you could have other people coming back from the past. But one thing that I'm noticing is maybe these people from the past that are coming back are actually, it's like a challenge for you in terms of your pattern. So you know the way we're saying there's a pattern. And if you're continuing the pattern, you're going to be in the same, the results are going to be the same. If you step out of your pattern, results change. So I wonder if there are people coming back from your past to challenge you changing your pattern, because it's like if you maybe accept certain people back without changing the dynamics of the relationship, without changing the variables of the relationship, then you are stepping right back into your old pattern, right? And so I wonder if that's going to be your sign to observe if a person's trying to come back into your life. Are they trying to come back in exactly the same way that they left your life, or are they trying to come back into your life and change the dynamics of the relationship? And I feel like you're going to be thinking about it from a perspective, if I let this person back into my life, does my pattern become more stale, or does my pattern get like a boost or a regeneration? That's almost how you're seeing it. It's like, this person coming back into my life, does it add to the excitement I'm seeking, or does it add to the staleness that I'm feeling within my life? And it's a really, in a way, it's a really good way of thinking. And I know I kind of feel like it's a very cold way to describe this, because I do feel like you're going to have a lot of affection and pleasure. And there is this feeling of, especially if you're in a relationship, I think if you're rethinking your relationship, there's going to be a lot of new and exciting energies. But just for the purpose of describing how your January is going to be, I feel like there's almost this mathematical, colder approach that I'm taking. But don't take it that you're like, this computer in January. It's just, you're very good at pattern recognition in January, and you're very good at adjusting your own pattern. So yeah, that's what I have for you, group 4. I think you're going to be leveling up your whole existence just by changing a few variables in your life in the month of January. That's what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, do like, subscribe, and comment if you want to share some feedback. I'd love to hear it. But I'm going to leave it here. I hope to see you in my next video. And yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Bye.